University is hoping for more than just shutting down the fraternity. He said he hopes the students involved leave his university.
Some may decide to take themselves elsewhere. Well, I hope they do, even before we finish the investigation. It'll be just fine with me if they've all taken themselves to other institutions. Just take them out of here. They don't belong here. And I don't want them here. So I hope they do. I encourage them. I might even pay personal bus fare for them if they'd go somewhere else. Just go.
Joining me now, Isaac Hill, the president of the Black Student Association at the University of Oklahoma. Isaac, how shocking was this to you down there at the university?
Well, Lawrence, I have to say, unfortunately, it was not that shocking. For most of us that have grown up in Southern America, which so many of the black students here have, we have always come into some kind of situation where there was unfortunately a racial tension or a racial divide. So for most students and myself across campus, unfortunately this video was not shocking.
What would you recommend to your university president, David Boren, on this?
Well, I would first like to thank him for all of his swift action and his decisive words about how he feels about this. But I would just recommend not only just reprimanding them, but also taking time to educate them and let them know why this is not okay. I want them to have meetings with the Black Student Associations, meetings with the Black community across campus, so they can see us in a face-to-face interaction and know and look us in the eye, apologize, and tell us that that's not, us be able to tell them that that was not okay.
Isaac, you can clearly identify a guy in the bow tie who's leading
Yes.
the singing there. What's been the reaction to him, particularly on campus?
There has been a couple of memes made, but as far as I know, I'm still not really aware of who he is. Fortunately, I don't really know too many members of this particular fraternity chapter.
Mark Thompson, you're just back from Selma. You were there for the weekend with your son, who's around the corner there somewhere, and to come back from that amazing weekend and to discover this as the first piece of news in race relations in America today.
Well, first of all, and thanks always for having me, Lawrence. I never dreamed I would find it, especially considering my son and his cousins were in the van with me driving from Montgomery to Selma when we first got there, and I was explaining to them the history of that very dangerous road and all the things that happened there and all of the trees along that road and how over the century, how many of those trees bore strange fruit. I was explaining that to those young people. I never dreamed I would get back here this evening. And I just came from the Jackie Robinson Foundation dinner where these are students in institutions of higher learning with scholarships. And they're talking about going to these schools and seeing something like this happen in places of higher learning in this day and age. It is horrifying. A report just came out, the Equal Justice Initiative, and it's hard to document and track all the lynchings that happen. But they have documented almost 4,000 between 1877 and 1950. It is completely unacceptable and irresponsible and downright racist for anybody to make light of that, to include it in any chant or to say anything like that in this day and age. And lastly, when we look at what's been happening with the police, which I dare say is really, we just saw it in Madison, Wisconsin, a modern day form of lynching, far more sophisticated, maybe not nooses, maybe not trees, but still far too much of this is happening, and it's really something that needs to be addressed and taken more seriously.
Joy.
But I mean, remember that, you know, what I love about studying history is that it is a continuum, right? So we were in Selma where the attempt to keep African Americans out of civil society, away from voting, was a direct response to the Civil War. It was a direct response to the emancipation of the formerly enslaved and the desire of the white citizens of the South to not get over slavery and to say even 100 years after the Civil War, we will not allow the sons and the grandsons of former slaves and the granddaughters of former slaves to participate equally in society. This fraternity that has now been expelled from this particular university was founded in the mid-1800s, in the 1860s, in the years after the Civil War. I don't believe for 10 seconds that those kids made that chant up. You're talking about an institution that was reacting probably in the same era when people were marching across the Edmund Pettus Bridge to the imperative from the federal government to integrate, to allow the grandsons and granddaughters of former slaves to be with you in society, to eat with you in a restaurant. This was the fact that the South couldn't get over it, and not just the South. We're talking about the places where former slaves migrated to, places like Illinois, saying after dark, get off our streets, don't be here, clean our homes, take care of our kids, but when the sun goes down, you better get out of here, because they couldn't get over slavery. The inability of an entire tract of our country's society not to get over slavery and to allow the formerly enslaved to become full citizens is what all of this is about. That chant, what it's specifically saying is, you're not integrating our fraternity. That wasn't something these kids made up. They all knew the words to it. This must have been something that was part of the body of this fraternity. That's what's really frightening.
Howard Dean, how